Hi all, I'm Sam. Today I'm going to show how does .NET Core application, especially we are creating a web API using .NET Core, integrate with the Prometheus and the Grafana in step by step. Throughout the course, I'm using Docker images, so you won't run any issues while running in this application in your local environment. With this tutorial, you will learn how .NET Core application work with the Prometheus and create nice dashboard to generate in a Grafana, which shows API statistic like how many requests per second, how many errors per second, sort of thing. If I give a simply bit of understanding what is Prometheus and Grafana, the Prometheus is an open source system which is used for monitoring and alerting. Of course, Prometheus come with many metrics, many features, but over this tutorial, I'm going to use a default metrics which come with the NuGet package, which support .NET Core application. So still, of course, still you can create your own customized metrics, which will be covered in future tutorial. So the other hand, it's a Grafana. What is Grafana? Grafana is used to create nice dashboard, which basically fetch or retrieve data from various data source. In this tutorial, it will fetch data from the Prometheus. So let's start. Today I got inbuilt .NET Web API application. As you can see, under SRC folder, we do have a custom API project. Underneath it has a control, as usual, come with the .NET Core application. So if you want to create a new .NET Core application, what you need to do, you need to run .NET new web API, then give it name. In this case, let's say we give a test project. If I run, it will create a new project, test project, and it's come with the default controller with a forecast. So same thing I did earlier, because I don't want to spend more time on this. Let's say we delete the one, and let's go to source folder and check what's in the controller. As you can see, there are two controllers. I'll come to the customer controller in a bit later. But in the weather forecast, it's pretty much like a default controller, but I have changed the action a little bit. So there are a couple of actions in over here. The one is returning a random forecasting, and the second one is returning the city. If someone requests this action, it's returning city. But the specialty of this action is it's delaying 5 seconds. This will be shown in the Grafana too when we show the how many requests per second, how long it took. So this one we can use this. That's why I use this delay in 5 seconds. The other one in the country, for example, this what does this action does? It's randomly throw error to unauthorized. So in some cases it's returning Australia. The other some cases it's returning unauthorized. This is I want to make pretending like, okay, this action gives some errors and we can use in the Grafana and Prometheus. So that's why we use this error in some cases. That's pretty much this controller. So let's run this application. We will see what's in the output, and then we will go through the next step, the Prometheus. How do we run the .NET Core application? It's pretty easy, as everyone knows. Like currently, I'm in the root folder. So what I'm going to do, I want to go inside the custom API folder, cd src, src. Let's say cd .NET src custom API. So I'm in custom API. What's gonna do? I want to .NET restore. So I want to run the restore command. Basically, it's getting any dependency in the NuGet package. Then what we need to do, .NET run. So once you run the .NET run, it's built in the application and it's running on in different ports. Basically, HTTP is running on the 5001 and HTTP run on the 5000. So let's go with the HTTP. We don't need to worry about much. So basically what I'm hitting, let's say I'm hitting home controller and city controller and the country controller. So let's have a look what's going to happen. Let's say it's running on the 5000. Right. Okay. What's going to happen? As you can see, if I hit home controller, it's randomly sending some data. So it's a 43. Next time if I hit, it's like number 1. basically it's randomly sending some data. If I try the city, you can see it's returning Melbourne, and you can see it takes some time. It basically we do have a 5-second delay. That's why it's getting a little bit delay. After 5 seconds, it's get the Melbourne. If I go to the other one, basically the country, as you can see, if I hit this, just you get the 401 error unauthorized, because it's randomly generating some error. Like sometimes get a proper response. Sometimes let's say I randomly get unauthorized, as you can see. So this is pretty much the application and the data. So now let's go to how to get this data into Prometheus, then Grafana. Now we have up and running .NET Web API application, which returning sometimes it's returning 280p request response. Sometimes it's returning 401 unauthorized access. We do have a data. Now we are going to integrate our .NET Core application with Prometheus. So what we need to do, we need to install one of the package which comes with the support to .NET Core application, which is .NET. It's a Prometheus-net .sp netcore. I'm using 6.00. So once you install, let's install this package. And as you can see, if you go to the project file, you can see this is the package installed. And other than that, this is just installation. And then what we need to do, we need to do another hookup. Basically, what we need to do, we need to add some middleware which used to collect all this HTTP request and responses sort of thing. So what we need to do, we need to add one middleware which is come with the Prometheus. It's come with the use HTTP metrics. Metrics. This is a middleware which gather all the information, all the pipeline request, HTTP request information. Plus, we need to other thing is we need to expose one endpoint where we can see the Prometheus metrics. So metrics. This is a metrics. So what this guys does, basically this line number 52, it's create a new endpoint where we can access the Prometheus metrics, all the HTTP request information. I'll show you in a bit. So let's build the application. Go to .NET build, and then no errors, that's good. Let's run the application. Right, here we go. As usual, it's running the application. Let's go to our endpoint, and the endpoint it's exposing, basically it's a base URL and metrics. Spelling wrong. Metrics. So as you can say, this is a Prometheus endpoint. It's basically come with the it's a usual some of the information, but let's try to trigger our I'll make it a little bit bigger. I'll click this one a couple of times, then hitting the city endpoint, and plus I'm hitting country a couple of times. So if I go to here, you can see a little bit smaller. You can see it's all the information we can access through this new Prometheus endpoint. As you can see, it's for the home action. It's hitting 7 times, and city one it's hitting 1 time. So let's have a look. Let's give a shot another time because city one has a 5-second delay, as you remember, and that's why I ticked live. And if I refresh, so you can see it's come with the 2. These are the information come with the Prometheus, and where we can use to analyze and get some more important information. So this is raw data. We need to convert into that actual information. So the next time, after in a bit, we will do. So currently, this is running on the web API itself. The Prometheus endpoint running on the web API itself, but we will create a Prometheus in the Docker image and the Grafana and the web API. In the next in a bit what we're gonna do, we create three Docker image, one for web API, one for Prometheus, one for Grafana. Right, now we do have a up and running application, .NET Core application, which exposes endpoint to grab some Prometheus metrics. Now what we're gonna do, we create three images, three containers, one for .NET Core application, other one for Prometheus, and the other one for the Grafana. Right. Currently, I got a Docker file for the .NET Core application, so hopefully everyone familiar with the Docker application. Docker file for the .NET Core application, pretty much like it's Dockerized in the our .NET Core application. So then what we need another image, another Docker file to create Prometheus. So what we're gonna do, I do have a Docker file for Prometheus one. I'll grab here and I'll show you what's gonna do. So we have a config file for Prometheus and the Docker file for Prometheus. So as you can see, we get the latest Prometheus build, and we copy one of the config file into container. So if you go to the config file, what does it have? So you can see it's a global. There are some global variables, scrap interval. As you can say, Prometheus is basically it's bringing or scrapping some data from various data source. In this case, it says scrap interval is 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds is scrapping, and it gives some timeout. Role file, it's at the moment we can skip because it's not important at this moment. Then we say, okay, we define some jobs, because there could be multiple jobs for the Prometheus. They can scrap some data from various data source. In our case, it's our .NET Core application. So give it name and give us some config. So in here, what it's gonna do, it's a target. Target is basically, this is a endpoint of our .NET Core application. So once it run, I'll show in the demo in a minute. So then we got the Docker file for .NET Core application and Prometheus. Then we need a Grafana. So for the Grafana, we don't need to separate a Docker file. What we're gonna do, we create another Docker compose file, which is, if you know, the Docker compose file is used to create we can run multiple container within this. It's create a network and they can communicate each other without any hassle. So that's why we create in the Docker compose file. If we go line by line, so basically it's give a version and the service. In this case, we do have three services: web, Prometheus, and I'll get some rooms for here. I'll make it bigger a bit so everyone can see. Right. So Prometheus and the Grafana. So if you go to here, web application is our .NET Core application. It's built with this the Docker file. It says dot is it's referring the current directory Docker file, and give a mapping folder for the host, for we can access through the host machine. And the Prometheus, it's give a what is the Docker file it's used to, and support mapping, of course, and it's give us some configuration, and it's depend on the web. And the lastly, it's a Grafana. Over here we are using the Grafana Enterprise image, and it's free for using for the personal usage, and give a port mapping we can access from the host, and depend on the Prometheus. Right, we got all the good stuff, and what's going to happen once you run this Docker file, Docker compose file, it's create a up and running three container. How to run this? I'm in root directory. What's going to happen? I'll run Docker compose build. We need to build the image first. So once you run, you can see it's start building. It's pretty much because I already built. It shouldn't take much time to get the images. Yeah, it's everything is in the cache. Nice. Now what we're going to do? The second line, Docker compose up. Once you run up, it's running all these three images as a container. You can see it's creating some container. Like now, let's go to our UI. Right, now let's see in a browser these all endpoints. So as you can see, our .NET Core application in 8000 port, and 1990 is the Prometheus, and 3001 on Grafana. So if I open my browser, so you can see it's still running on the 8000 in the matrix as it is, and this is our endpoint. I'll give a quick look. So it still is running on 8000. It's running on the container. This is one of the other endpoint. This is another country endpoint, and this is the actual our this is our Prometheus. So you can see it's a localhost 1990. If you type localhost 1990, it's end up with this screen. This is a Prometheus instance running on our Docker. And actually, you can see there are so many metrics here. If I see, let's see, HTTP, let's say this matrix, one of the metrics. If we execute, you can see it's come with a host, with the forecast, and you can see city, this action, all the information in over here. Right. Now let's see what's the Grafana. So if I type 3001 in localhost, it's popping up the login screen. The default username password is admin. If I enter, don't save. So it's asking the first time if you want to change. I don't want to change. I'll skip. Like this is the Grafana. So as you can see, we have our .NET Core application running, Prometheus is running, and the Grafana running. So now what we need to do in the Grafana, we can go to Grafana and we can configure, okay, I want to grab some data from Prometheus. The Prometheus bringing the data, retrieve from data from our .NET Core application, and the Grafana getting data from Prometheus, and we can create nice dashboard. Let's see, but the very first thing what we need to do over here is we need to create a data source in the Grafana. Go to in the left side, leftmost side, you can see the configuration in the setting icon, and go to there, and we need to set up the data source very first. We add the data source as a Prometheus. There are so many data source you can pick, so many type of data source. In our case, we are selecting Prometheus, and give it name, keep it as same default, and HTTP. And over here, what we need to do, we need to give an endpoint of Prometheus. So as you can see, the Prometheus running on the localhost 1990, but from the Grafana container, they can't access through as a localhost. What they can access to the name of the name of the container. So I'll show you the name of container. So 1990, and give it name. That's true. Keep it as all, everything is default. It doesn't matter. If I save and test, it said data source is working. Now if I go to I'll show you where do we get the name. So basically this name, which is in our Docker compose file. So Docker compose file we define as this container defined as a Prometheus. So you need to use this name to access from another container, because in the local from your host machine you can use as a local host, but within the particular container, if you want to access another container, you need to use actual name of the service. That's why it's Prometheus. Right, now let's come to here, and we have a data source. Now let's create one dashboard. Hi, one thing I forgot to tell in Prometheus. So if you go to the Prometheus and if you open the targets, so you can see one of the jobs we created in a Docker file. So I'll go through the Docker file. Basically, you can see it's a host Docker internal 8000, and job is my job, which got created through in the Prometheus. This is the one we define in the Prometheus YAML file. Like this is the one it's got created over here, and it's pulling the data from our .NET Core application. Now let's go to Grafana and create nice. Let's see, we can create another dashboard. So what we're gonna do, we create another new dashboard. Let's give a save. Sorry, if you go to the settings, give a dashboard, test dash one, and so everything is like pretty much default. Only one thing is we can add the variable. So in here left side you can see the variable. What's gonna do, because we are supposed to do some metrics from the controller, like for example currently we do have a one controller weather forecast, we can create another controller. We need to get some statistic on weather controller. So for that we can tell, I'll start typing and then I'll give a go, and we say give a name. Its a name is controller, and the label is which is showing in here. Plus in the query what we're gonna do, we said label value, we need to get this metrics come from Prometheus. We're getting all the received data for controller. Like if I update, so then let's say we give the include all values, we can keep a and preview something like this. You can see it's putting the data and that's with the forecast. If you update and save the dashboard, let's say dashboards, and go. Cool. But this is a kind of like a filter we can use. Currently we do have only one with the forecast, and but in the later we will get more controllers, and we can get statistic for different controller based on, or otherwise we can get all. Like now let's see, we can add one panel. So let's see. As you can see in the data source, this is one. Currently we do have only one data source. It's pick up by default. As you can see, this is a Prometheus instance, Prometheus data source we created. In here, what we're gonna do, we create some metrics. Let's say we want to get some metrics for HTTP received total. Basically, let's say we want to track down the received total for each controller, right? So this is how you need to do, and plus you want to say the ligand is as a controller. If I do this, and let's see how does it look like. So we can give a short, and we can apply save. So currently as a no data. Let's see, we do some HTTP request call, and with some city, and we give some, like, let's see, still it doesn't show request controllers. Oh, it should be controllers, not the controller. Let's go to dashboard and edit and variable, and let's see, this is a controllers, and this is controllers, because we give has a name as a controller. Let's give a short. Okay. So if I update now, save dashboard, let's go. Cool. Look, you can see we get some data. It says if I go into edit mode, you can see we get some data as right. As you can see, currently we do have weather forecast, and I do have another endpoint I expose in our API, which is customer endpoint. Basically, it doesn't have a nothing. It doesn't have a much big thing. It's just returning some name because I want to create another controller. You can see in the .NET Core application, we do have a customer.controller. If you hit the index, it's just returning name, the foo, just a string. Cool. I will give a couple of times, and if I go to Grafana and give a refresh, what you can see there's another controller, controller name popping up, and we can check that one too. So you can see either customer or with the cost. It says how many requests we got per second. So that's what it's mentioning. Like you can see the list record for the customer, the master record for the forecasting. So if I keep doing, it should give a couple of go to hits, and if I come here, give a refresh. We don't need to refresh. It's refreshing automatically over here. You can see once you refresh, it's you can give a short how frequency you want to refresh this dashboard. It's a 5 second. Every 5 seconds it's get refresh, and you can see it's customer get more request, customer controller compared with the controller. Let's add another one. Basically, let's say we can add another one. Let's say you want to find the number of errors per controller. Let's say if you can't add another one, go to there. I got this predefined one. Still we get the Prometheus. We browse is this, and again same thing for the legend. Is say we can divide into controller. So currently you can see the HTTP request received total with the code. It's a 500 or 400 for 1 minute. So basically it says rate function give a like a 1 second or how many hits per second, and throughout 1 minute. Over here it says how many requests per second throughout 1 minute. And as you can see, it's getting weather forecast controller got some error, and but not the customer, right? Let's save it, this one. So let's apply. We can give a name, of course. We can give a name. Let's say error rate. Save it. If I come here, and let's get we need to get some error rate, right? So oh sorry, not this is the this is not error rate. This is the good one. It's not number of requests. This is the number of requests. Change it to number of requests. QUST. Save it, and this is the one actually error rate. If I go to here, I'm changing to name. This is error rate. Cool. We save it the whole dashboard, and you can see if we give we need to populate some error. If we go to the country, as you can see, sometimes we get unauthorized. Give a shot. Sometimes we need to keep some error. All right, give a shot. Couple of good refresh, because as you can see, sometimes return Australia, sometimes returning the error randomly. So now if I go to here and refresh, because it takes time to get the data. Let's see, it should increase this one. Oh, as you can see, here we go. Like you can see, error rate per particular weather forecast controller, it's increasing drastically. So this is how you need to interact with the Grafana, Prometheus, and .NET Core application. And all the, as I mentioned, that we can do lots of stuff. For example, you can, if I go to the data source, you can change the interval. For example, you can scrap interval, it's 5 seconds, query timeout, and so many things we can do. If you want to use some authentication, still you can use, but over here we don't have any authentication. We don't have any authentication in the Prometheus. Grafana can access directly. That's pretty much the how do we integrate .NET Core application with the Prometheus, and all the codes will be in GitHub, and the link will be in the details. Thank you so much for the watching, and yeah, see you soon. Thanks.